Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Being Abroad. I hope everyone is having an amazing day or had an amazing day, depending on the time of day that you're listening to this podcast. But overall, welcome back to another amazing episode. If you guys do not know, we have already dropped 2 episodes so far to this series, and I honestly hope you guys are enjoying them as much as I am enjoying interviewing these alumni. I hope you guys are learning a lot about study abroad and have even reached out to the study abroad office to ask questions or even plan your own trips. For those of you who do want to listen to the other podcasts, definitely plug into our YouTube channel at Oswego Abroad. YouTube channel title again, Oswego Abroad, or visit the study abroad website at oswego.edu/international. So far in this series, I have taken you guys to Asia. Last week, I took you guys to South America. And this week, I decided you guys need another vacation. I was like, it's time for me to switch it up a little bit. Throw something in there that you guys are not even going to expect, guys. So if you guys are already thinking it, you probably already guessed it. We are going to Australia this week. Wow, that was actually a very terrible Australian accent. I don't know what I was trying to do there. But we're going to Australia this week. And I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I personally don't know anybody who's been to Australia except for this alumni that I'm going to be introducing. And I really hope you guys enjoy this. And definitely tune into this podcast because this story is going to be amazing. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's having an amazing day. Before we move further into, I would like for our guests to introduce themselves so that we can all get a little bit of who he is and where he went. So go for it.
Okay, so my name is Sholin Collins. I went to Australia in the summer, so around July 2015. That was my junior into my senior year. I guess I could identify as both a Black and intern and student in my study abroad experience.
Wow, perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And Australia, that's actually really new. So far, I haven't even spoken to anybody who's ever been to Australia. So you definitely are the first person. Can you give us a reason as to why Australia? That's honestly something that's very new. So yeah, why Australia?
Okay, the reason is kind of just silly. When I was younger, I watched the movie The Crocodile Hunter and a lot, and I thought Australia was an amazing place from there. But I also liked a lot of what Steve Irwin was doing at the time because he was still alive back then. So I would hear news and watch news on Steve Irwin's just interviews with animals and other such things. So it interested me for since I was a kid, pretty much. So when the study abroad experience came about, I was given several options, but Australia was always top of my list. So that was one thing that I wanted to do more than anything.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, a lot of people have interesting stories as to why they chose the country, and I think this one was by far the most interesting, based off of something that you were watching. So that's actually really good. And I definitely do want to talk a bit more about you definitely did say you identify as a Black man, you identify as a student and as well as an intern. And I definitely want you to kind of talk a little bit more about your intern experience because I personally have never spoken to somebody that went to Oswego and did an internship. And you're literally the first person I'm hearing that has done an internship abroad. So can you talk a little bit more about the process from you going to the study abroad office here on campus, and then, you going to the actual country?
Okay, so I'll talk first about how it all played out or came about, I should say. So I was like I said in my junior year, where I was actually, no, I was in my sophomore year, at the end of my sophomore year, where I had an RA that studied abroad quite frequently. She went to Paris, and like a couple of different places, and she was like an advocate for studying abroad. So
Wow.
I used to hang out with her regularly. We were good friends, still are to this day. And that being the case, at one point, she literally came to my dorm room with a bunch of opportunities to study abroad, from Spain to France to Australia, etc. And she did not have to do that, but the fact that she did, because she knew that I was interested in studying abroad, she really like just looked after me in that way. So I started like looking into it more. I then talked to like my parents, and they were like, "Go for it if you can," you know. So it just kind of fell into place after that. In regards to how I ended up in the study abroad office, I let them know that I was speaking to my RA and everything, and they asked, why'd you want to study abroad? And like I explained the same thing that I explained to you earlier. It's just something that I've really wanted to do since I was a kid. In addition, like I never really like looked into what it would like be like just being like an African American trying to study abroad. I was just really there for the experience itself. Like, and in getting ready for this experience, there are, like I said, there are several different opportunities. My study abroad experience is a little unique because I studied abroad with an organization called Kappa. Yeah. So Kappa is a study abroad like organization like most others, but it's like kind of a third vendor, which it gives you like three separate types of opportunities where you could just be a student, where you could do a full internship, or where you can do both, a study like where you're a student and you're also an intern. So I decided to do both because, as I said, it was like around the time when I like actually pulled the trigger on this experience and opportunity, I needed interning. I needed interning added to my resume, as I was a junior and I only really worked on campus as like a desk attendant. So I thought it would be a good experience to actually be in like working a 9 to 5 and to be also a student, to like get some more credits just to be able to like graduate a little bit sooner. So that's kind of how all of that like kind of fell into place for me. It kind of worked out very, very well. And, you know, like the rest is kind of history.
Thank you for, sharing about like that whole process of you going into your internship. And being that we are on the topic of programming and Kappa as well, I usually just ask a lot of the Kappa students about the process of going through Kappa while you're there. So can you talk about how, the program kind of catered or, helped you adjust to the new setting while you were a student and an intern abroad?
Okay. So while we were there, the Kappa organization kind of like offered opportunities while you were studying abroad. So while you were there, they offered experiences and like events and things that you could do where they would kind of like lead you kind of like let's say you're a kid and you're at camp and they took you to like go get ice cream. They took you to like a famous bridge, the Sydney Opera House. Those were places that they took that were like an opportunity for me at least. Those were they kind of printed out a schedule on their itinerary pretty much about things that would be unfolding that they would like take you to. So all of that was included in expense because that's important.
Right.
So you pretty much when you sign up for Kappa, they really build like a whole itinerary for you, like which you could choose to follow or not. That's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
And which could make like being in another country or on another continent in general just feel like a little bit more like easy, and you'd feel more comfortable with being in this place, because not only are you like is this itinerary, you could like meet more people being there, because so you have more people that you meet, like that's part of the same program, because like it's not just Oswego that was a part of it. There are other colleges across like the United States that were also like with Kappa. So you meet new people, you get a sense of your surroundings, you feel more confident and comfortable being where you decided to study abroad. So that was very like useful. In addition, like another thing that kind of set me apart in regards to studying abroad was that I was kind of like a study abroad leader, like because they ask people, or at least for my experience, they asked like one or two people to like be a person of contact between them and the organization, and they'll give you they'll set up kind of like contact between you and the rest of the people that are part of that program for whatever semester or summer or whichever program that you decided. And you can speak with you as a student and part of the program can speak with both. You would be the liaison, basically. So you're talking to the program directors, and you would be talking to the other people at like thinking what you could set up for the rest of the people in the program, what they would be comfortable doing, what they would like to see be done, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. That's pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of my experience as well. Like when I was abroad, I wasn't like a liaison, but I did apply to be an RA abroad, and I was like an RA for all the international students abroad. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, and I really like that you talked about just like them having like an itinerary, because I feel like that's where a lot of people who are curious to go abroad, that's the part they kind of get stuck at. They're like, so once I get there, like what now? Like, what do I do now? And I feel like, you mentioning that, different programs do have like different accommodations for each student to make sure that this process does go smoothly. It's very like, I bet it's like very lifting for a lot of students who are listening to this, who, have that idea that once you get there, it's kind of like, all right, you're here, go about your day, you can handle it all. So definitely thank you for clarifying that. And being that you are in like Australia, like I said, for a lot of us, you probably are like the first person we're hearing that has ever been to Australia. So like, can you talk a little bit more about your experience there? What was like your day-to-day life as a student and an intern? How did those two work together? What did you see? Anything you want to share.
Okay. So, like my week was broken down to where, I was solely interning on some days, and then I'd have class the others. I can't remember exactly what those days were because it was almost 6 years ago, but, like, again, so there were days where I was solely an intern, and then a couple of other days where I was solely a student. But like in the week, I would be both. So so in being a student, it wasn't much different from like being a student like on a typical like college campus. You had a classroom assignment. You pretty much went there. You like we even had like some field trips to like museums and everything like that. So that was pretty cool. The just being a student in another like place, and like also still doing field trips and like learning about like culture in another like just continent or just another city. Like I did not know before my like trip how Australia became like a place. The history was taught while I was there, and I learned a lot. So that was an amazing experience in and of itself. And me interning was definitely a little different because it was like my first time working like a job. So I was there from 9 to 5. They asked me to do certain tasks, and the job was in like human resources. So like it was pretty much sitting down with people, like interviewing them based on what their strengths and weaknesses are. And I actually got to sit with some interviewees and like try to assist in placing them in jobs that they would fit. Although mostly this was done by the people that I was under, they asked me to review some resumes and everything. So I got a bit of experience doing that. So yeah, it was definitely a learning experience in both cases. Because one, as a student in a new place and learning about the culture and the city and the life of like Sydney, Australia, and then learning how to be a like just an employee of some place that's like an actual 9 to 5 job was interesting in and of itself.
Right. That's very interesting, actually. I like that. I like that for sure. Okay, yeah. So in regards to like you just being in Australia, what would you say was like your hardest adjustment to make while you were there?
So I guess the hardest adjustment for me would have been the just kind of being there on my own. Like I've always been told I make friends pretty easily, and also just the fact that I was put in kind of a leadership position. So there was just two things where it was like, oh, okay, so I'm in a new place and now I'm in a position to point out what like the rest of the people in this program can and should do. That is a little weird, but I mean, I guess again, another learning experience. So that it was an adjustment for that, and getting to like learn about just the people that were there, and like also getting to like learn about being in Australia in and of itself. So those were all pretty much all adjustments for me. But typically within I mean, I wasn't there for a very long time, but typically like I got used to it within like the second or third week. So it was just a little bit of an adjustment period though.
And how long were you there for?
I was there for the summer, so it was about 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
So about almost 2 months.
All right, perfect. Yeah, because I know a lot of people have questions about like the lengths of programs, and people don't like to be away for too long. They want something straight in the middle. So that's a really great point to make. And I know you were saying that you were learning a lot about just the Australian culture. Learning how Australia came to be Australia. So in the midst of you learning about the Australian culture and stuff, what is like one interesting thing that you learned about Australia that you would like to share with everyone?
Okay, so what I found interesting at least was that Australia was kind of like America, where there were people that originated or were already there on the land and occupied it. It's just they were called Aboriginals. They're still existing today. It's kind of like our Native Americans and for America. How it became the first established city was Sydney. The reason being because London or England ran out of space in their prisons. So they had to look for a new place to house these prisoners. So the establishment of the first like colonial city, it was done by prisoners, not like free men. These were people that either had to like pay off debts or indentured servitudes that like either stole everything that was established as a colonial city for Sydney as an established city was done by prisoners first.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm never gonna lie. I haven't even done my own research on Australia, so I can't even say that's what I expected. But that definitely is very interesting for sure. That definitely is interesting. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, yeah. So I guess the next question I wanted to talk about was a little bit more on like your identity. Because I know like when you go to Australia, you know, like you definitely are, especially you as a Black man going to you know, Australia, and I'm pretty sure, you know, the race there is mostly white. But how would you say like your race played into your experience, or did you have like any experiences where your identity as a Black man, you know, came into play?
So like the city of Sydney is pretty much like a diversified city, kind of like New York, which is New York City, which is where I'm from. So it was pretty diverse in and of itself. Like there were Aboriginals which were more people like kind of similar to my skin, but definitely different because they may be people of color, but they're not like they're not black. If that makes any sense. So it's a separate kind of culture. But everyone was pretty much like nice in their own right. They were accepting and very inviting as a culture in and of itself. I mean, there were some people that like could hear us talking when we were together as like a program, and there were several different people. And we could talk amongst each other, and like some Australians would say, "Oh, you're American, right?" It's like, "Where are you from?" And it was just like, "Wait, what do you mean? How could you tell?" It was just like, you guys are always loud. I was just like, I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's fair. I mean, like Americans could be pretty loud in and of themselves, but like again, they were very inviting, and they would talk to us and like teach us like rugby or anything like that when we were in a like social setting. So it was pretty good. Like I mean, for me in my program, I don't recall like a lot of other like people of color. So but I didn't feel like I stood out. I felt like I was accepted both by the people in my program and the people who were just like native to Sydney or like Australia. So like I didn't feel left out or like casted out in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, that's actually pretty good. Yeah, because I know a lot of people, you know, they're especially like, you know, African Americans, you know, we definitely are underrepresented when it does come to study abroad. And It's more so like we just want to make sure that, you know, we're going to a place where we're going to feel safe and we're going to feel, you know,
right.
So that's definitely like, I always like to ask like about in terms of like race, like how it affects, because I know that's like the first thing people consider, especially like, you know, in our society today. You got to make sure, you know, you're going someplace safe, especially considering that you're going to be far away from home for some time. So definitely thank you for like for sharing that. I'm glad your experience did go like that. I guess the next question I would have to ask is how would you say your time in Australia, you know, being a student, being an intern, how has that like affected your life today? Like how has that like contributed to who you are today?
Okay, so in regards to like just post like study abroad visit, like I was very just adamant with the study abroad community, especially in Oswego. Like as Lizette knows, like I was there for quite a while. I was volunteering for quite a while because pretty much right after my experience, I also signed up to be a Kappa ambassador. So another type of liaison between the Kappa program and the studying abroad in Oswego. Plus, whatever event the study abroad or international exchange program was doing, I pretty much jumped on board to be a part of. So much so, I was very surprised by my end of my senior year. I was awarded the study abroad program that was just given for the first year when I was about to graduate, and I was not expecting that. But yeah, I was pretty much a very big advocate for studying abroad after my experience. In addition to that, I have a friend named Tiana Morris. We did a couple of programs which were kind of supporting or trying to push the idea of more people of color should study abroad, because it's definitely an underrepresented group. So much so that both me and Tiana and one other person, whose name I cannot remember for the life of me, we were represented in a textbook at some point for studying abroad. So it also helped me to just put more of my face out there, to just be more of an advocate, be more of a leader. It's an experience that I realize that a lot of other people have done. It's something I've gotten close with other people. To this day, I could still talk to individuals who went all over from China. Like a recent friend actually. Who also went to Paris, France, while we were still students, just moved to the Netherlands. Another friend was in Croatia during this pandemic. She was a whole teacher for English in Croatia. We still talk about possibly going places and being there for long periods of time, and this is something that we've all kind of just loved to be a part of. There's another friend that studied abroad, I think in Colombia, and he goes pretty much to every Spanish country if he can make it. So it's Colombia, Spain. And to make that a little bit interesting is the fact that he's more Italian, but he loves just Spanish speaking culture. So he's there almost as much as he can be. So it's literally this. It's one of the top points in I guess in my life, to a point where it's something that I would still push people to do. I would still support people in doing it. It's still something that some of my close friends today will still go out of their way to try to be in other places. And I would definitely support them in that endeavor. Being in a new country just is one of the most rewarding and best experiences in life.
Yeah. I could definitely just agree on everything that you said. After you have your experience, it definitely does change you a lot. Your perspective, your view on everything. Me personally, I try to leave America as much as possible. Because there's just so much outside of this country that people don't even know. And I don't know, the comfort I get being abroad is a comfort I don't feel when I'm here. And that's really important, especially considering what you were saying. And I actually know Tiana. I was on a panel discussion.
There you go.
With her. Yeah, I was on a panel with her, and she talked a lot about her identity. And she's actually going to be recording an episode as well soon. So
of course she is. I'm not even surprised.
Connection, No, yeah, but that was just I everything you said. I definitely felt that all the way. It's a different vibe. It's a different experience. And then I guess my final and last question is, in terms of representation, we talked a little bit about the race aspect of things. But I also want to talk about more so the gender aspect of things, because, Black men, I believe, this is not statistically proven, but I think Black men are the most underrepresented when it does come to study abroad. I think women may study abroad a little bit more than men. But so what would you say to, just Black men out there who are hesitant on studying abroad? Like, I've spoken to a few of my guy friends. I'm like, hey, I think you should study abroad. They're like, why? Like, why am I going there for? Like, what is there?
Yeah.
My friend is not going to be there. Like, nobody's going to be there. Like, what advice would you give to Black men who are hesitant or are not even thinking about studying abroad, that you can kind of inspire them to want to study abroad?
I say this to pretty much everyone. When it comes to studying abroad, so the experience in and of itself of studying abroad, like, helps you to learn so much more about, like, the world instead of just from the town you grew up in. Now, let's say that you went to Oswego. Maybe you grew up in the town of Oswego, and you've done nothing but stay in Oswego. Like, there's so much beyond the one town that you grew up in. And maybe if you didn't just grow up in one town, you kind of did go to a different town to go for studying, for college and everything. But that's still not different from being, like, on your own, from learning about a different culture. In the simplest of terms is the fact is, like, at some point you're pretty much still following, like, the school norm, the just being a student and or intern, whichever, like, route you decided to go. So you haven't, like, ventured out to know what more there is that the world has to offer. And in addition to that, vacation, like, just going on vacation, I mean, vacations are great, but they don't give you a lot of time to actually be in the place, learn about the place, learn about its people. You're kind of just there to have fun. It's a very different experience.
That's true. Yeah.
Now, so studying abroad in and of itself is a rewarding experience, because you get to learn about other places. You get to learn about other people. They explain their experience. It's pretty much, it will turn your head around how much where you come from is different from another place, and how much those people, as long as you're willing and just want to learn, they will be accepting of it and will be accepting of you. And that is a different feeling in and of itself.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm hoping, like, I graduate at the end of this year. So I'm definitely hoping, maybe next year, a lot of men, definitely do come to study abroad, because I just think it's just so important. And, I definitely like, the way you kind of, like, just talked about just, getting outside and just seeing the world. Because I know a lot of people just think where they are is the world. And it's like, I'm just like, man, y'all have no idea. Like, it's a real world out there. But thank you so much for, sharing your experience with us today. I'm pretty sure I learned a little bit about Australia that I've never even thought about. And I'm pretty sure everybody else who is listening to this episode can say the same thing. But so thank you so much for plugging in with us. I don't know if you have any final comments that you want to add for everybody. I don't know.
No, I don't have much else. It's just when you do study abroad, stay safe. Like, I know a lot of people are a little worried about Australia because they hear the like the animals and like the craziness about the things that could possibly kill you. Honestly, I never met one thing that was like had the ability, because I was staying in cities. So do not worry too much about that. It's not a big deal. But again, if you have the opportunity, study abroad. It's the best rewarding experience you could ever have.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have heard it here. Just do it. Just study abroad and, just take that leap. But thank you guys for tuning into this episode. I would love to see you guys next week because we are going to another different place next week. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.